It's a natural part of existing. We all get caught up in wants and fears. We all act unconsciously. We all get diseased and deteriorate. When we relax about imperfection, we no longer lose our life's moments in the pursuit of being different and in the fear of what is wrong. So that's what we go through with imperfections. Imperfection is actually a good thing because it tells you that you've got that much more things you can do to improve. So as you go through your day, I'd like to invite you to try this exercise. Pause occasionally, and then you ask yourself, at this moment, do I accept myself just as I am? Without judging yourself, just simply become aware of how you're relating to your body and your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors. Ask yourself, stop yourself occasionally to do this. This moment, do I accept myself as I am? Or some other questions you could ask would be, do I accept my body as it is? Do I blame myself when I get sick? Do I feel I am not attractive enough? Do I feel, or am I embarrassed about how my face and body are aging? Do I judge myself for being too heavy, or underweight, or not physically fit? Do I accept my mind as it is? So occasionally pause and ask yourself and see what comes up. When you're asking yourself this question, do not evaluate yourself. Do not judge anything. Just see what arises. And this illusion of unworthiness will slowly become conscious as you ask yourself, do I accept things as it is? And it will emerge, this illusion of unworthiness. And once it becomes conscious, this illusion of unworthiness begins to lose its power over our lives. So this is my story, and this is my self-discovery through the Buddhist path. Because I couldn't run away from myself anymore, that I dared to stop and see who I am. I peel back layers and layers of illusion, and I finally peeked, just peeked a little bit at the suffering within me. And then I connected myself with the whole world because I saw the suffering. I saw what I was doing to myself. I saw through my vulnerability and my illusions of unworthiness. And I realized that it was just not me alone, that a lot of people go through this too. So at that point in time, I realized that I was neither separate nor alone. Let me share with you a quote from a great Buddhist master. His name is Mahagosananda. Many of you heard of him before? Mahagosananda. He's also known as the Gandhi of Cambodia. So what he had said, let me just move forward to that quote. And what he said, from deep suffering comes deep compassion. From deep suffering comes deep compassion. I reached inwards and I touched the source of my deep suffering. I realized how I was creating them. I began to develop great acceptance towards my own imperfections and my fears. And I embraced my strengths and my weaknesses. And I see the world and all living beings with more compassion. So I hope that by sharing my story with you, and that you will discover that in this whole process, you are your own best life coach. And you can be the you want to be. All right, so that's the end of my talk. And we still have about 10-15 minutes for questions if you have any questions. Yes.
So, hey, hang on for a second. Let me bring the mic.
Oh, okay, Warren's gonna bring the
We're
mic.
recording thing, so thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing this eye-opening lecture. So you're talking about the illusion of, so not everyone can come to the workshop. So is it possible that you can post those questions? So when people, if they are at home, that they can do the ask them their self questions and do their own workshop?
Sure, I will leave that with maybe, is it Virginia? Do I leave the questions with you? Yeah, and she can send them to people or post it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Excuse me. You have more than 10-15 minutes. The workshop, the speak talk, the public talk is until 11:30.
Oh, really? I thought it was 11.
There will be a lot of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so we have more time for questions. Great.
It's California time zone.
Oh yeah, I'm still kind of New York time zone.
And as a matter of fact, I don't think most of you know that Venerable Chang arrived at what, 10:45 last night?
9:45.
9:45.
She only slept about less than 3 hours last night.
And she traveled
It's okay.
all over the world, all the time. So as a way, right?
Yes.
This is where the learning sets in. So don't be shy. The game is yours. Great.
Hi, Venerable Chang. I have a question that has been like troubling me for a long time. I cannot read any or listen to any horrible things, no matter it's real or fiction. And it makes me feel suffering. Do you have any good strategies for that? Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for asking that question. For me I'll share with you my own experience. Perhaps it might help you too. Like I was just sharing with everyone, I have a passion. I just love horror movies, and I love to read horror books. But throughout my journeys, as I traveled all over the world, we lead workshops with young people about youth empowerment and leadership. And we also lead workshops with young people in conflict areas. We've done workshops for the Sudanese during the peak of their civil war. And we did workshops with Cambodians, with the Iraqis during, when the war first started to break out. And also with the Afghanis. And during this time, what I felt was that when they're sharing stories about what happened in their countries, what are their living environments, what they go through, completely breaks my heart. There was this from Afghanistan, because they had war for over 50 years. A lot of these young people were born into a conflict area. So one of this young person, as he was introducing himself, he said that, he's looking forward to the workshop. And he says that, the only thing he knows about peace is what he sees in the dictionary. But he has no idea what peace means to him, because he grew up in an environment that was something that you can't even imagine. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart many times when I hear so many stories about these young people. And as I was meditating, I was doing retreats at the retreat center. Sometimes, it overwhelms me. This suffering that I identify with these young people. But in the interview process, because I was taking retreats with our Dharma heirs, with our Western Dharma heirs, and they were very skillful in asking questions. He directed the question back inside of me, where you start asking yourself, why do you feel that pain? What is it about the story that touched you? And as you keep doing that, you will discover your own true source. That's how I discovered I was running away from my own emotions. I was running very fast. Oh gosh, I was such a consummate expert at creating busyness. Really, it was very easy. And being a monastic, it's even easier. You know, I keep yourself busy the whole time. And but I was running away from my own emotions. What you see or what you reject or what not what you reject, but what you feel is a manifestation of yourself. So when you have difficulties with, you know, listening to these kinds of horror stories of what is going through in the world, you have to ask yourself honestly this question. What is it about these stories that touch you? Right? When you hear the stories, what is it that you feel? Right? What do you feel when you hear these stories? I mean, you try not to read it and you try not to come in contact with it, but with our, you know, our age of this internet and smartphones nowadays, it's hard not to be able to, you know, protect yourself from these kinds of information. So when you hear them, what is it that you feel?
I can easily imagine what the victim feels at that moment, and so I keep thinking about the imaginary scene when I'm alone, and then I feel so terrible.
Right, so that is kind of like what I said, because, you know, it is because of our own sense of this illusion of unworthiness and that something is wrong with us. Now, this is actually something that is very natural in evolution, is that we have this sense of survival, that we need to protect ourselves. And as we're doing this, then, you know, you tend to kind of want to do everything to protect yourself. And when you do that, you go into this process where you imagine the worst case scenario. Just like what I was sharing about the plane as we're flying. My colleague was preparing to die.
Yeah, I also have that experience.
Right, preparing to die, and I'm preparing to go on a roller coaster ride. So it's all in the mind. But if you look at this more deeply, maybe it's something that's calling out to you. I've met a great author. His name is Andrew Harvey. I don't know if any of you have heard about him. He's a promoter of spiritual activism. And the thing he asked a lot of people to do at the end of his talks is that he would invite everyone, as some of you would know, the power of full moon. And they say that, you know, during the nights where it's full moon, and if you meditate, you know, you actually, you know, can advance a lot. It helps you with your meditation practice. So he invited everyone during the full moon to meditate and open themselves to the entire world. And at the end of the meditation, he invites everyone to think about what breaks your heart. What breaks your heart? And then he says, when you think about it, he says, then after that, go out and do it. Solve that problem. Do something, especially when it touches you. So that's why we say investigating the mind is important, because you got to see what's happening inside of us. We're always so busy with survival that we forget what is happening inside of us. We forget to become mindful of whether we feel, we resonate, we hurt, or what's going on inside of us. So that would be a good way for you to investigate, you know, what is it that you really care about when you don't want to see or hear all these bad news or these horror things, atrocities that are happening, because one, you imagine it happening to yourself. But I think there's something else deeper if you continue to dig deeper in. Yeah, I don't know, because would you be here for the afternoon?
I'm not sure. When I have something going on from 2:30 to 5, so I'm not sure what I can.
Oh, okay. What about maybe tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're here tomorrow, that's great, because there will be something that we will do, the exercise I was talking about, I was plugging about, that might help you understand why you're reacting to that in that way. All right?
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions? 2? Okay.
Actually, so personally, I feel that the illusion or the feeling of unworthiness is also a way to improve ourselves. Of course,